What's going on today? Aaron from Smokey Tire Barbecue. Today I'm going to be showing you how I like to trim and season my Boston butts. Let's light them up. When it comes down to seasoning and trimming a Boston butt, it could be depending on where you're at in the country. I'm in North Carolina, so I like my barbecue to be a little bit on the sweeter and vinegar side. But if you're out in the, say, Midwest, you might like that salt and pepper, or in Texas, that salt and pepper style of barbecue. But today we're going to be showing you how I like to trim and how I like to season it using more sweet rubs than anything else. So let's go over a few items that you're going to need. First things first, you're going to need a butt roast or a Boston butt. That second thing you're going to need, make sure you get some nice sharp knives. Now, I have two different knives here. This is more of a flex knife, more for boning, and this is more of a stiff boning knife. Also, you're going to need an injector. I like to inject my Boston butts, and also I like to inject it with Uncle Yammy's. This is actually grilling sauce made in North Carolina, mixed in with apple cider White House vinegar. I do a 50-50 mix when it comes down to my injection. But let's get this thing started. First, the pork shoulder butt roast. So there's actually a bone that runs inside here. You also have right in here on the opposite side is going to be a money muscle. Now this typical style of barbecue is used for competition barbecue like KCBS, but unfortunately like this one right here I would not choose for KCBS just because that money muscle is just pretty much non-existent. This is good for that backyard barbecue or that backyard get together that you're going to be having and you want to get some nice pulled pork. When it comes down to trimming, everyone does things a little differently. What I like to do is I like to go ahead and open up my butt, and I like to empty out the juice because I am cooking in the house. You know, I want to make sure that I kind of keep my workspace just as neat and clean as I can. So I'm just kind of dumping this juice, letting it run off in the sink beside of me. Once I pull the butt out, see, it gets out a lot of these giblets when I run it out. I'm going to grab paper towel. I'm just going to kind of blot this down and get it all nice and dry. Now, there's a couple different ways you can trim Boston butts. There's a lot of videos on YouTube. There's a lot of videos out, dropping knives and whatnot. There's a lot of videos out and about that show you different techniques and different ways. And again, there's a gazillion different ways that you can do this. This is just how I like to do it. First things first, I look and I see there's a lot of excess fat on this. There's also a vein or an artery that actually runs along inside here, which I like to remove, and it gets out a lot of that gristle and a lot of that fat that just does not render down. So what I like to do is I trim as I go. So I start on one end and then kind of work my way around, and then flipping over the butt and then going on the opposite side. Again, it just depends on what you want and how you want to trim this. A lot of folks will just, won't even trim it. They will just throw this on the pit and call it good. I'm not like that. I like to get rid of a lot of this hard fat that just is not going to render down when I'm cooking. So keep that in mind. Again, this is, if you want to do it, that's great. If not, you ain't got to. It's just kind of something that works for me. On this long side here, on the actual bone side, I kind of make some incisions, make some cuts, and kind of open this up. If you can see, there's a lot of this gristle and a lot of this that just will not render down. So what I do is I take my boning knife or my flex knife, kind of get underneath there, make a pocket, and then trim up some of this fat, get rid of some of the silver skin as well. Be careful not to remove any of that meat. You want to keep as much meat as you can. I mean, let's be real, you're buying this to make barbecue, but at the same time, you want to make sure you're getting your money's worth. Especially with the meat prices being so high right now, you want to try to get all your money's worth. So keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do is just kind of trim this up on each side and just kind of get rid of, like I said, a lot of this fat and a lot of this silver skin that, again, just does not render down. I'm not going to bore you with this, so we're going to speed this up.
A few moments later.
All right, so after I got that all trimmed up, if you notice a lot of that silver skin, I don't have to get necessarily all this out. I mean, it will render down some when I'm cooking it, so just keep that in mind. you know, again, this is a process that you don't necessarily have to do. But for me, I like to do this portion of it just because I don't like a lot of fat and a lot of gristle in my barbecue when I'm trying to cook. You know, like I said, it doesn't really render down a lot. And this Boston butt, honestly, I'm gonna be quite honest with you, this one's kind of tore up pretty decent. I got this one at the local Walmart. Slim pickings around here in North Carolina, so to kind of get what I can get, especially, you know, you figure North Carolina being one of the mecca of pork, we would have better product. But again, I'm not going to spend 50, 60 bucks on a Boston butt, like say from like Heritage Farms or something like that, that's in Goldsboro. I'm not going to be spending the money on that, or Cheshire pork or something like that. I just can't afford it. I work public safety full time, and honestly, you know, you don't do public safety for money. You do it because you want to help the fellow man. So unfortunately, you know, paychecks it is what it is, especially in also having 2 twin boys at the same time under about the age of 6 months. It makes for, you know, you get what you can get. So this butt on this side, like I said, I like to trim a little bit more than others. You may not necessarily want to do all this work and all this prep work. Like I said, you can just go ahead and just throw this on the pit if you'd like. I've seen plenty of people do that. But at the end, you're going to be trimming out a lot of this fat. I tried to look for Boston butts that have not a lot of fat. I look for marbling. I look for a lot of nicer cuts, but unfortunately, like I said, slim pickings at this time, especially in our economy and how things are going right now. Now, a couple things you can do if you wanted to trim. Like I said, if you wanted to get rid of the actual bone, you can do that. You kind of cut around and you get the bone out and kind of fillet it open. I tend not to do that. Also, when you flip this over, if you notice there's not a lot of fat on the back side of this. There are some that have a crap ton of fat. There's some that are a little bit leaner. For me, I like to remove the fat cap. There's, like I said, a lot of folks do their own thing. I prefer not to have a lot of fat. I want meat. I want seasoning. I want flavor. I want smoke. One way to get that smoke is you're going to have to penetrate this fat. Be careful whenever you are trimming this. Don't go so deep like I did on that one. It is what it is. Just trim out a little pocket here. You know, just kind of trim and go as long as you're making like a slicing move. If you have a nice sharp knife, you just want to kind of walk in there and just kind of slice it off like that. Again, don't get too deep into it. Honestly, again, if you want to skip this section, you absolutely can. It is what it is. But again, this is just how I like to trim. There is a lot of debate between me and my friends, and you know, they like to keep the fat cap on. Well, when I do it, I take it off. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's what makes barbecue yours. When it comes down to trimming, it's kind of like painting, like Bob Ross. You know, this is your world. You're the creator. You can kind of do whatever you want to do. It's your fantasy. It's your world. Make it yours. So when it comes down to barbecuing in general, I kind of live by that motto. Make it yours. Make it whatever you want it to be. This is my outlet. This is what I do to find peace, to find therapy, to find, you know, therapeutic things or whatever it is. I like to cook. Which is a great, you know, win-win for my friends and family and this, that, and the other. You know, they like when I cook. I'm one of the requested ones that always cook at all the family functions because I enjoy it. It does get mundane from time to time, and you want to try to find new recipes. So I ventured out into the SCA, the Steak Cook-Off Association competition of ribeye cooking, steak cook-off. So I've been kind of venturing into that and want to venture into more into possibly into the KCBS and kind of go in more in line with that competition style barbecue. I mean, like I said, the world is out there, you know, it's endless. You know, the possibilities are endless of what you want to do and how you want to go about doing your barbecue. That side looks pretty decent. I'm going to leave a little bit of fat. A little fat never hurt anybody. So what I'm going to do next, once I get this thing kind of trimmed up, I'm going to inject. You don't necessarily have to do this. Again, the debate among my friends, why do you inject? Why do you like to do this? I like flavor. I'm a flavor person. I like high flavor profile. I want sweet. I want a little bit of heat. I want some savory. I want a little bit of bite of that vinegar. Well, one way that's going to give me that bite is I go ahead and incorporate some of that vinegar into the actual pork butt itself while it's cooking. Again, you don't necessarily have to do this. You can just kind of season this thing up and roll with it. again, it's whatever you want it to be. Now, when you do remove this fat cap, just be mindful that your pork butt will cook a little bit faster than normal, just because you don't have that fat layer, that huge hunk of fat that's kind of protecting it and keeping it, making it cook a little bit longer. So keep that in mind. I like to cook mine at about 250, between 250 and 275. There are some folks that like to do, 225 for 10 hours. I don't like that. I don't have time for all that. Again, I got twins. I got stuff to do. I'm actually filming this while they're napping right now. I mean, this is the only way that I can do this. So I like to cook it. So it's about, I don't know, about 1:15. I'm going to throw this on the pit. We should be eating by 7 o'clock for dinner time. So I like to cook a little bit hotter, which means it cooks a little bit faster. You can cook these as high as 300 and get it done pretty quick. But again, it's entirely up to you and how you go about it. I necessarily don't go by temps when I go to wrapping it. I like to go by the bark color. So whenever this thing is cooking, I like to go by that. So I like to go by the color and go by the feel and kind of go by, if I had to go by a temp, maybe about 160, 165. But again, I go by bark. I go by color. I want that deep, dark mahogany color, a little bit of char on it, but I don't want it to be so much that it takes away from it. So once we get this thing, it's looking pretty decent. Again, this is a lot of fat that I took off, but again, you don't necessarily have to do all this. This is just an extra step that I like to do. Now from here, we're gonna inject. If you want to skip this, you can go with a smear, or you can go with a lather or a slather. You can use mustard, yellow mustard, and coat this thing with that. You can use olive oil, you can use vegetable oil, you can use whatever you want. What I like to do is I use my injection, and when it comes out of it, it'll actually coat this so I can actually get it going and use that as a binder. So just whatever you use as a binder, this is where you would do it. You don't necessarily have to use this as a binder, anything as a binder. You can just put it on your rub and let it sit for about 15-20 minutes, flip it over, pat it in and then flip it over, and then do the exact same thing. Wait another 15-20 minutes, and you can throw it on your pit while your pit is heating up. But from here, again, I'm just gonna get my injection ready, so I'm gonna get that going. When it comes down to injections, it's whatever you want it to be. Honestly, if you wanted to go with more commercial one, the Heath Riles barbecue and grilling pork injection and brine, you can use that, or you can kind of make your own. I tend to make my own. So what you're gonna need is apple cider vinegar, and again, this is gonna be Uncle Yammy's grilling sauce. You can also use your favorite mop sauce or make your own mop sauce. You're also gonna need a strainer. You can either one that goes here, or the little one, whatever one you have. I like to tend to use the bigger one and put it in a nice solo cup, or whatever you have available. So first things first, the actual grilling sauce. So the grilling sauce I like to strain, just because it has a little bit of chunks in here of spices, and I want to kind of get that out. So I take my finger and just kind of run it around in here and get it down towards the bottom. Save that though. Save the actual pieces that you're going to be using, or that come out of this, the chunks. That's flavor. Keep it. So what you can do is you can actually put it on the pork shoulder when you're done seasoning it, and it gives you a little bit of flavor, or you can just kind of set it to the side. Now again, I like to do a 50-50 mix of the actual grilling sauce and then apple cider vinegar. Again, you don't have to do this. This is something totally what I like to do. You can also inject with apple juice, pineapple juice, anything with a little bit of sugar, a little bit of sweetness that kind of gives you that flavor profile you're looking for. If you're going more of a fajita profile, I probably would not inject at all and just season this with like Malcolm Reed's The Gringo, or Meat Church fajita, or whatever your favorite taco or fajita seasoning is that you get, like McCormick or whatever, that's store-bought. Any of those would work. So again, you have a little bit of leftovers, which is fine. Then what you're going to do is you're going to get a paper towel and wipe this off. What you're going to do is you're going to take some apple cider vinegar. And again, kind of look and see where I'm at. And I want to make a 50-50 mix. Now, I may not use all this injection, which is absolutely fine. I'm going to be using this whenever I wrap. I will be using whatever's left over in the actual wrapping process. So, all said and done here, set this to the side. This is kind of what you're left with. Nice little bit of injection. You want to kind of stir it around, you can. Get it kind of incorporated and mixed in. So it's sweet, it's tangy, it's got a little bit of that vinegar bite that I'm looking for because, again, we're in the South, so you want to have that vinegar bite. But these two simple products work very well together, and it gives you that nice sweet flavor. And again, this is just something that I do. You don't necessarily have to do this. Okay, with our injection already made up here, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab whatever you have as an injector. If you get the store-bought one, if you get the one from Walmart, or whatever. Whatever works for you. This one just happens to be an AT-BBQ pistol grip. I like this one the best. When it comes down to injecting this, be mindful. This can come back and splatter you or splatter whatever's around you. And you're going to work in a grid pattern. So starting and just do little sections. You're going to kind of go in and just kind of inject this. So it's going to plump up on you. So what I like to do is kind of get my hand here and just kind of pump in a few injections. And again, you're going to work in a grid pattern. Keeping your finger there so when it comes out, it doesn't kind of squirt all over you. Now, this Boston butt will take on a lot. This is about a 7-pound butt. I mean, you can get bigger ones. This one was just kind of, like I said, what we had available in our local market. So, you know, you just want to, again, just kind of go in that grid pattern and work your way around. The butt will tell you when it's had enough. It won't take any more up. It'll start kind of kicking it out every which way, and that just lets you know, okay, I'm done with this section. But you're just working in a grid pattern, trying to inject as much as you can into this. And just, again, be careful not to splatter yourself because it will get messy pretty quick. All right, this side is actually looking pretty good. Get the next one up here. Again, I just kind of like rub this little liberally here and kind of get it ready. On the other side, again, we're just going to work in that grid pattern again. When you flip it over, that's when it starts to kind of kick up at you. And it just kind of got on me there for a second. It is what it is. If you're really worried about this, you know, splattering on you, get an apron. Get a nice little apron and kind of protect your clothes there. I don't really care. It is what it is. It's what the fun is. What's the joy of doing this? Just having fun. So you're just injecting, like I said, injecting everywhere that you can. Get down deep in those muscles. Get down deep in that tissue and to the meat itself. Again, like I said, this will hold a lot of rub here or injection. Kind of, like I said, there's this blade bone right in here. Some really good tender meat comes off of this bone. You can use it as strands. You can use this as your strands. There's a lot of fat in this. Probably should have trimmed that out, but then I'd be losing a lot. So I'm going to have to trim that whenever it comes out. I'm going to have to be mindful of that. Just kind of keep track of where all your stuff is at when it comes down to the actual what's fat and whatnot. Because again, you're gonna have to trim a lot of that out when it's done if it doesn't render down. All right, that's looking good, looking good. So now I'm going to flip it back over onto the flats or to the fat side, and we're getting ready to get your seasonings going here. All right, when it comes down to rubs, the sky's the limit. Okay, there's a lot of commercial available ones, Cosmos, Q, Meat Church, Killer Hogs, Yardbird, and even McCormick makes some really good rubs. Or you can just sit down and make your own rub. Salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder, a little bit of oregano, maybe a little bit of celery seeds, some paprika, a little bit of brown sugar. You make it your own. Make this whatever you want it to be. Again, we're Bob Ross in this thing, man. Make it what you want. It's your world. You're creating this. When it comes down to the Cosmos, what I like to do typically is going to be the cow cover hot, dirty bird, and then Texas beef. So it's 1 tablespoon, 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon, because that Texas beef is a lot of salt forward. Again, we're going with that sweet heat, a little bit of sweet rub. The sweet honey pecan is actually a really good. This is one of their harder to find ones they just come back out with. And then the SPG from Cosmos is actually just a really good overall. Using on beef, using on veggies, whatever you want. Honestly, any SPG is a good base rub. That'd be great. When it comes down to Meat Church, if you're looking for, again, that sweet heat, you can go with that Honey Hog Hot. If you want something with a honey bacon, a little bit of bacon flavor goes really well. You can do a Honey Hog Barbecue. This is actually one of Meat Church's original rubs that kind of put them on the map. It's really sweet. Then you also have the fajita mix from Meat Church if you're going for that Mexican style blend of pulled pork. And then you have the Holy Gospel, which is a pretty much overall general good purpose rub, in my opinion. It's got a little bit of sweet, it's got a little bit of heat from that peppercorn. It's just an all-around good one. Again, if you wanted to go with the Killer Hogs, Malcolm Reed stuff, this is Malcolm's Grande Gringo. It is a Mexican seasoning blend. Again, that's really good if you're doing pulled pork for tacos. You have the barbecue rub. You can get this one at Walmart. And then you have the Yardbird, which is really good. But to me, it is a lot of salt forward. And I'm not a big salt fan. My palate just doesn't like a lot of salt. I like the sweetness. And then again, McCormick makes some really good stuff. This is the Smokehouse Maple. Now, you can take these rubs and kind of do whatever you want to with them. I typically like to do the barbecue rub mixed in with a little bit of the Holy Gospel and then topped off with the Smokehouse Maple when I do my rubs or do my ribs. I've also done a lot of pulled pork that way. When it comes down to Cosmos, I like to mix, again, the hot cow cover, the Dirty Bird, and the Texas beef. I like to mix that. Today I'm going to go with the Cosmos. Today I'm going with Cosmos. I'm going to do that sweet heat from that hot cow cover, Dirty Bird, and a little bit of Texas beef. That's what we're going to go with today. One thing to note, you can find all these rubs readily available, typically from your Ace Hardware all the way down to Walmart. So the Killer Hogs and then the Smokehouse Maple is found at my local Walmart. Everything else is pretty much found at Ace Hardware, my local Ace Hardware, a couple miles up the road. They have it. If not, you can order everything online from like the Barbecue Superstore. You can find some of the stuff on ATBBQ, from Meat Church directly, from Cosmos Q directly, from Killer Hogs or How to Barbecue Right. A lot of this stuff you can find readily online. You just got to pay that extra shipping. So just be on the lookout and try something that you like. Try something different. Just try everything. That's what's great about barbecue. It's about trial and error. Try what you like and figure out what works and what doesn't work for you. All right, now since we got this all figured out and what we want to use as a rub, we're going to set the actual injection to the side here and get our rub out. I've mixed everything in this nice little shaker here. You can find these on Amazon, relatively inexpensive. Again, what I like to do is start off with the fat cap up and just season liberally and season evenly. I like to go about 10 to 12 to 18 inches high to getting that nice even coat. And again, this has a binder on it, right? So it has the injection that's kind of come off of it. So what I like to do is kind of pat this in. Again, this Cosmos is this mixture of that hot cow cover mixed in with the Dirty Bird, mixed in with that Texas beef is going to be nice, sweet, and give you a little bit of heat. Just kind of pat it in and just kind of, again, season liberally, and you want to kind of make sure you're seasoning high up. One thing to do not forget, season your side, folks. Season the sides. That is flavor. That is beef or meat that you're going to be using. Not beef, this is pork. We're going to be making sure that it is covered. Everything is covered. Again, you want flavor on everything. Everything. So once this is on that side, you're going to flip it over. Then you're just going to season it. Nice and even coats here, folks. Make sure it's nice and even. Nice and even. And then you're going to make sure that you're coating everything. Again, nice liberal rub. Pretty much one of those containers, if you use just that one rub, you'll probably use half of that just in this one pork butt. Keep that in mind. And, again, rub is flavor. Rub is exactly what you're wanting this thing to taste like. If you want it to taste kind of that hot and sweet, well, you need to make sure you have that hot and sweet little factors mixed in. Again, you're just going to kind of let this sit and get a little tacky. Kind of let this sweat into the meat while I'm firing up the smoker. You're just going to kind of let it all sit and kind of get together and married together and you're going to change color. So it'll turn into looking a little bit wet, which is absolutely fine. You want that. You want to have that kind of nice kind of wet rub there going on. Now, when I put this on the smoker, we're going to be smoking this on the RecTech RTB 380. You can use whatever favorite smoker you want. You want an offset, that's fine. You want it to be a Weber kettle, whatever you want, whatever you got. Use whatever it is that you have. Again, this is just what I'm doing. You don't have to necessarily do what I'm doing, but you know what? I enjoy doing this, and this one actually tastes really well. I get a lot of good compliments off this beef. I keep saying beef. I don't know. I've been cooking a lot of beef and a lot of steak lately, so I guess that's why. But this is pork. So, but again, if you wanted to, you can use this. You can use this rub on beef. I mean, it works well. I did it on a couple of briskets the other day, and it worked fantastic. It had great flavor. It had great taste. It was salty. It was sweet. It had the savory aspect and had that little bit of heat, which I like. So now we're just going to kind of let this rest for about 15-20 minutes while I'm firing up the smoker. All right, so after about 15-20 minutes, the actual rub's been set in, and it's kind of starting to sweat out a lot of the moisture, which is what we want. Again, this is just a simple way, and this is what I do when it comes down to trimming and seasoning a Boston butt. Again, there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can remove out the bone. You can get that money muscle and kind of shape it up a little bit so you can get more of the smoke ring to go around that money muscle. And again, this just works out for me. And then this is not like a competition style trim. This is just something for the backyard with the buddies, for poker night, or whatever it's going to be for the kids, the family, whatever. Just to kind of recap, this is a 7-pound Boston butt. We trimmed up a lot of the fat. We've trimmed off the fat cap. We've trimmed off that artery and a lot of that gristle and that silver skin that's underneath that runs along in there. And then we season it with the Cosmos Q, hot cow cover, Dirty Bird, and some Texas beef, and just kind of let it sit in there. So next thing's next. We're going to throw it on the pit about 250 to 275 for about 3 hours or so till we get that nice color. I'm not even going to insert a probe. I'm just going to go by color. That's what I go by, and then we'll wrap it. So again, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. The more likes we get, the more we can venture out here and do more videos and this, that, and the other. Also, follow us on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're all on there as well. Kind of follow along on our journey as we're kind of getting into smoking and showing you what we do, and kind of get along in that competition barbecue. And again, follow us for that SCA competitions that were coming up. So again, if you like that video, like this video again, the more love, the better, and we do appreciate it. And as always, y'all be good and be safe.